All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Math Puzzle Crash Course. We have a mixed operations problem here that I found online. And with this one, it's 9 minus 4, and then multiplied by parentheses 2 times 3, plus 22 minus 6 times 2. All right, kind of a weird looking problem, but just it's really more of a brain tease. If you'd like to, you could pause the video here, and we'll come back and work this one out together. All right. So first of all, I want to talk about this idea of implicit versus explicit multiplication. A lot of people might have forgotten this. I see a lot of people give confusing answers, but basically, implicit multiplication means that you do not have a multiplication symbol here. You've actually got a 4 outside of a left parenthesis. You have parentheses here around the 2 times 3. Explicit multiplication is where you actually have a multiplication symbol like we have right here. We actually have a multiplication symbol. This also would be explicit multiplication over here on the right because we have a multiplication symbol. But here, this actually means 4 times what's inside of the parentheses, which is 2 times 3. So I hope that clears that up for some people because a lot of people forget what you're supposed to do when you see this and you don't have an actual multiplication symbol. The next thing to cover here is the order of operations. A lot of people have forgotten that too. A lot of people are trying to solve this left to right. I've seen all kinds of strange answers from 40 to 25 and 92 and so on. But I got to remember there's some acronyms out there for this order of operations. There's PEMDAS, BODMAS, BEDMAS, BIDMAS. They all really mean the same thing. They're just used in different parts of the world, mostly English-speaking countries, where instead of parentheses, you might be talking about brackets, or instead of exponents, you might be talking about orders. And then the I in BIDMAS would be like indices, which really you're all talking about the same things. So it really you end up getting the same answers out of all of these acronyms. But I have some other videos that go into more detail on that. But just taking PEMDAS as an example, that's normally what's used here in North America. That would be parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division left to right, and then finally addition and subtraction. And I have left to right, but honestly, addition and subtraction can be done in any order. You're going to get the same answer. Now, when there are no parentheses or exponents, you'd start with your multiplication and division. We do have parentheses here, so we need to make sure we solve the operations inside of those parentheses first. So how do we go about doing that? Well, again, we have 9 minus 4 times the quantity here, 2 times 3, all in parentheses. So we want to take a look at what's inside of these parentheses. 2 times 3 is 6. So basically, we're going to be left with a 4 times 6 here. And we can go ahead and do this multiplication here as well. That's a higher priority operation. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But 6 times 2 is 12. So you're left with 9 minus 4 times 6 plus 22 minus 12 equals what? All right, well, we know that 4 times 6 is 24. So we've got 9 minus 24 plus 22 minus 12 equals negative 5. So the answer to this problem would be negative 5. Now, why don't we solve this left to right like we're reading a sentence? I see a lot of people ask that question. Like, when I'm reading a book, I'm reading from left to right. Why don't we just do it all left to right? If they wanted the multiplication to be first, why isn't it written first? Well, we are solving left to right, but we also have to keep in mind the order of operations as we do so. Why? And the reason why would be, well, first of all, when you have an acronym like PEMDAS or any of the other ones, when we're talking about the order of operations, the first thing we're looking for as we're going left to right are parentheses. And the parentheses are really just grouping symbols that tell us to prioritize and solve anything inside of them first before solving anything else. That's really all they're for. And then the next thing we would look for are any exponents in a problem. And exponents are just shorthand for repeated addition. Well, and they're really shorthand for repeated multiplication, first of all, is what they really are. We'll get into what multiplication is, but this actually is, it should say multiplication. And why is that? Well, because 5 to the third power is equal to 5 times 5 times 5. And it's much easier to write 5 to the third power than it would be to write 5 times 5 times 5. Another thing here, multiplication and division have equal precedence and are solved left to right. And I see a lot of confusion here because people will say, well, PEMDAS says one answer and BODMAS says another because the M before the D or the D before the M. But what people forget, they don't quite understand those acronyms because multiplication and division have equal precedence. It doesn't matter what order the M or the D is in the acronym. Division is nothing more than multiplying by a reciprocal, so it's the same thing. Multiplication is shorthand for repeated addition. Keep that in mind as well. Um, when I say that, multiplication shorthand for repeated addition, is it easier for me to write 5 times 6, or is it easier for me to add 5 6 times? I'd have to write 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. I can write that much easier by saying 5 times 6. So just keep in mind, that's really why you are looking for parentheses first, you're looking for exponents next, because your exponents are shorthand for repeated multiplication, and your multiplication is shorthand for repeated addition. And then finally, we get down to addition and subtraction. Those have equal precedence, and it really doesn't matter what order they're solved together, because subtraction is just adding a negative number. And this example shows that. You can have 5 minus 3 is 2, or minus 3 plus 5 equals 2. It's the same answer. Doesn't matter if I'm adding first or subtracting first. Now, I'll also say too, be really careful when you're using your calculator. Understand how to use your particular calculator because there are different input methods. This example is showing the standard mode calculator on a Windows computer. And it's not very well explained by Microsoft, but it works in what's called immediate execution mode. So as soon as you enter in a number, an operator, and another number, it's acting as if it's hitting an equal sign for you. It's actually resolving that one operation before going to the next. So you're going to end up with an incorrect answer. You may end up with 92. You may end up, you're going to end up with an incorrect answer. And you can see that because when you look at the expression, it's showing 46 times 2, which is 92. That's not even the entire expression. But if you switch the same calculator on your computer over to scientific mode, you can click this up here and change it. You notice that the entire expression is shown, and then you finally hit an equal sign, and it gives you the right answer of -5. You'll run into this problem with a lot of really cheap calculators, your little dollar store calculators. Those really aren't capable of working in expression mode where you've got, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division all in one expression, and then you're finally hitting an equal sign. You're going to get a wrong answer on those unless you understand that you need to do the multiplication and division first on the calculator and then work it through the order of operations. It's very confusing, but just keep in mind there's what's known as expression mode, which is what you're seeing here. There's also what's called immediate execution mode, which a lot of cheaper calculators will do. And so a lot of people are reinforcing an incorrect answer because they don't understand how their particular calculator actually works. So I hope the video has been helpful. And please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. There's a little subscribe button down on the lower right. I do appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video. Thank you. Have a good day.